Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the June 10th Oklahoma City Planning Commission meeting. And ask first, if you have cell phones or pagers, if you would either silence those or turn them off for me, please. If you are not the applicant and you wish to talk to us about one of the cases, there are little sign-up sheets about this size or on the table outside the chambers, and if you would complete one and turn it into our secretary, we would be happy to hear you. First order of business is approval of the May 27th minutes. Move approval. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. We need to check the lights.
I'm abstaining, so...
Okay, we can't approve them then. We don't have a quorum.
Okay.
We'll put that to the hill of the docket and see if we get another member or two. Next is continuous requests. Russell?
We have three uncontested requests for continuance, items 17 through 19. These are PUD 1416, a request to continue to June the 24th. Item 18, CE 783, continue to June the 24th. And item 19, PUD 1415, continue to August the 12th.
And did anyone come to talk to us today about items 17 through 19 on our agenda?
Move the uncontested continuances.
We have a motion and a second to approve the continuances. Cast your votes. And they are approved.
We have four new requests for continuance, items 2, 3, 4, and 11. Item 2 is PC 10250. Item 3 is C6220. Item 4 is PV 71. Item 11 is C6221. All requests to continue till June the 24th.
Did anyone come here today to talk to us about any of the items just read on our agenda, item 2, 3, 4, or 11? Did you? Well, we're considering whether to continue that as requested right now. Okay. But you're not opposed to continuance? But you're not opposed to the continuance?
No.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Move the additional continuances.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue items 2, 3, 4, and 11. Cast your votes.
May we require one thing on that, however?
Come to the microphone and identify yourself, please, for the record. People who want to watch this later can't hear you if you're back there.
I'm Glenn Rex. I'm one of the landowners in that area, but I'm also a lawyer.
And your address, sir?
Having appeared in this since 1967 many times. I'm retired. That's why I'm dressed the way I am, I guess. We are here as a group to protest that. However, this is a second continuance, which we don't have a lot of problems. It's just that a lot of us work, I don't, but a lot of them work, and we don't have notice of this until after the fact, and it kind of is disconcerting to some of them that we come down here and have this problem. My question, I guess, is on the 24th, is there going to be another continuance?
Is the applicant here?
That's...
Anybody from the applicant?
Ernie Ish, representing the applicant, and the reason we're asking for the continuance is we don't have our water quality test back from DEQ on the wells, and I thought that would be back before this meeting, but it has not come back, and we fully expect that we would have it within the next few days and can meet the June 24th hearing date.
We're talking about agenda item 11, is that correct?
No, we're talking about agenda item.
No, we're talking about
three.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a significant amount of protest here. Have you had the opportunity, or has your client had the opportunity to sit down and discuss these issues with these folks and work out what you can?
I don't know how much contact the client has had with them, but I'm certainly willing to contact them and visit with each one of them, or as a group, either one between now and the 24th.
Well, let's see what this gentleman,
If you don't, Bernie, before you walk away, is there not a sewer line that touches that property?
Yes, there is.
And you're within a half a mile of city water, is that also correct?
Depending on whether you measure around the section line or catty-cornered across the country. But yes, we will be requesting on the plats variances for connecting to the water and sewer.
You might want to take into account that those variances may not be granted.
yeah.
We understand that.
I mean, I can't see why I would vote to allow you to put septic in when you've actually got the sewer line touching your property, for instance. Makes no sense to me offhand.
Well, I have a position to state to you about conservation and green development, but we will deal with that when we hear the case.
As long as you understand. And yes, sir, now you have a...
I'd like to speak to you. The answer to your question is that when I got the first notice, which was just to change the zoning from AA to RA, at that time, of course, I'm the closest person I'm contiguous to that land, and Mr. Anderson's property is just immediately south of mine, where he lives. And when I got that, I walked over to his place and talked to him and said, "What's your intentions?" He said, "Well, I want to put in 10 more houses," or something of that nature. I said, "Well, it's kind of a kick in the rear," and but anyway, I said, "What's your intentions as far as talking to anyone?" I think it'd behoove everyone if you were to talk to everyone in the neighborhood before you ambush us. I haven't heard back from him. So that's a response to what you said, that I made the request earlier that if I were representing him as a lawyer, I would have said, you really ought to talk to these neighbors and see what they have in mind. As far as the sewer is concerned, I've talked to the previous owner of that, and he said when he built his house, that house Mr. Anderson lives in, he had to jump through hoops just to build a house which is far up on the hill. Even had to deal with FEMA on it. So there are a lot of controversy.
Well, we certainly can't require communication, but we can encourage it. And in this continuance period, I would encourage the applicant to set up a meeting with you guys and resolve what you can, and we'll see you back on the 24th, I guess.
And, Mr. Chairman, on the subject of continuances, and we've had this conversation among ourselves many, on the subject of continuances, when a number of people come, and as you say, they have jobs, et cetera, I'm very sympathetic to that, and come June 24th, my vote will not be for another continuance. We'll vote up or down, whatever it is on that date, because I really am sympathetic, and I appreciate your coming down and apologize on behalf of whomever, is that it's continued because the water quality issue is that we've gotten some indication of kind of what the temperature is of the commission about this particular application.
Thank you. Mr. Lance Benham, who is also a neighbor, bought from Mr. Anderson next door, has a petition that we would like to file since there is a contention. Is there a problem with filing that petition?
No, file it with our secretary, and...
Okay. We'll do that at this time, and then if that's okay, we'll just get out of your hair, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Now we have a motion and a second. Commissioners?
Yes, I believe Mike seconded.
That's what I thought. Okay. Cast your votes, and it's continued. I have a continuance request. Is the applicant for PUD 1417 Riverport Park here?
Yes, sir. Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates.
Tim, I'd like to have a couple of week continuance on this one. The uses along the river are a concern, and I don't want to negotiate those from the horseshoe.
I would agree to continue and visit with you and staff, and I would like to point out that the uses that are included are approved by the Scenic River Overlay. But
We're well aware of that.
Okay.
And I'd like to participate in that discussion.
Okay. I'd be happy.
Commissioners, could I have a motion to continue item 9?
I make a motion that we continue item number 9 to the next
June 24th.
June 24th meeting.
You have a motion and a second to continue item 9 for 2 weeks to June 24th. Cast your votes. And that is approved. And now I'd like to go back to the May 27th minutes, now that we have a sufficient number of commissioners in order to approve those minutes.
Move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the May 27th minutes. Cast your votes. And the minutes are approved. Well, we've got 5 votes now, which is all we need. So we're good. Thank you.
You weren't here.
Are there any other continuance requests from the public? Okay, we'll go to items for individual consideration.
Item 1 is CE 781, which is an application by Independent School District number 89, close a portion of Southwest 30th Street, east of the right-of-way line of South Walker Avenue and west of the right-of-way line of South Hudson, Ward 6.
Give us your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Heather Hendricks, 900 North Broadway, present for the applicant.
Okay. Commissioners, there's no protest, and
I just have a question. Where's the new queuing line going to go? Where do you line up?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
where does the new queuing line go?
You're going to change the line for the buses to come in, and I just looked at the map and I wondered, is it going to affect any of these residential areas to the south?
I don't know about the project. I know the reason I brought this application for you was because of these 2 pieces. We were having trouble with the contractors not wanting to be involved in construction on these areas that actually belong to the city, even though they look like they belong to the school. If you go out there, it looks like a playground. You can't even tell that there's an alleyway on either way, and I think it's been that way since the 20s. So as far as the actual construction part of the MAPS project, I'm not sure.
So you're not familiar with where the new construction is going to be?
No, I'm only coming to you today requesting that you would close these pieces.
Do you know JJ?
Yeah, this road right here, this little drive will be enlarged to take care of the buses dropping on and off. This will be the new front door.
Oh.
This area here will all be a new parking lot.
Okay.
At the remodeled front entrance. They're going to remodel the front entrance.
Yeah, the front entrance will move. Yeah, so this whole area will be the front entrance of the building.
And now it's going to be over there?
Yeah, and the bus drop off will be here, and this will all be a large parking lot. It was the street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 1. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Items 2, 3, and 4 are being continued until June the 24th. Item 5 is SPUD 560, which is an application by Michael McCoy to rezone 319 Northwest 23rd Street from R4, General Residential, HL, and UCD, C4, UD, and 23rd Street Uptown Overlay to SPUD 560 in Ward 2.
Your name and address, please.
Michael McCoy, 1020 South Westminster.
Thank you. And you're wanting to just alter the zoning to permit a restaurant?
Yes. Mr. Allen wasn't here last time, so I thought I'd come back and say hi.
Commissioners, no one has signed up. Any comments or questions?
Is that very literally the only change that's being made, JJ, to this from what was approved previously?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly the same, except for adding that one use.
Well, the other questions that I have about this, I don't necessarily want to go back and rehash since I was unfortunately not present the last time this was voted on, but the access off of 24th Street seems to me a bit odd. Is it necessary that it be set up that way?
All the access will be redone. The access that's there now won't be used. It'll all be new.
But does it indicate that there will be access off of 24th Street? Maybe I misunderstood that.
If I may, let me answer that.
Okay.
Part of the problem we have on this site is that parking the requirements of a 2-lane, double-loaded corridor is beyond the width of those lots. So what we've done as part of this request is ask for an addition to go into the right-of-way to make the lot width. This is the limitations of our parking. So what we're wanting to do is to put a controlled parking lot there. So it's not going to be a freewheeling in and out. This is going to be a controlled parking lot by the owner with the control yet to be determined, but it is the intention that that be a private parking lot and that through traffic would be limited. What we're trying to do is to orient the parking that is behind the lots that face 23rd Street and the lots that face 24th Street. Access primarily will be from the revised alleyway.
What's going to be interesting about this is Cheevers uses that
They
parking.
currently rent that lot, yes.
Yeah, it's going to create some parking crowding in the area, which is what happens in inner city areas anyway, but I mean, that was just an observation, not anything to do with not approving the application. But
The existing usage of those lots on 24th Street right now is a wide-open gravel parking lot, and when you go by that any time of the day, it is completely full. So the nature of it, we believe, will be enhanced by getting rid of the restrictions of the gravel parking area, limiting the scope of that, adding some green area, and again, trying to control the traffic in and out of that area.
I agree with all of that. I'm somewhat ambivalent about the idea of it being controlled. Living on Western as I do, I have more information than I want about parking and sharing parking and finding parking when it's so limited. But is the design of the parking lot set because of the dimensions of it? Does it necessarily have to take access onto 24th? That's my only
What
question.
we would be faced with is losing, because we would end up with a dead-end parking situation, and we would have to lose spaces along 24th to allow a turnaround to occur. As it is now, you would pull in and have the capability, but those spaces that would be closest to 24th would be short in their capability to back out and turn around and go back to the alley. Because we are already asking for street right-of-way now just to maximize what parking is there.
And I don't have any problem with that at all.
any other discussion, Commissioners? Action?
I'll move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve item 5. Cast your votes, and you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, this, Mike.
Good luck.
Item 6 is SPD 561, application by CNC Vorderlander to rezone 3740 Northwest 166th Street from PUD 737 to SPUD 561.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Ernie Ish, representing the applicant. We agree with the technical evaluations and ask for your approval.
Go ahead, Nick.
Ernie, I'm confused by this application. You are asking to add, or you're asking for a PUD to have administrative and professional offices, medical services general, and medical services restricted, and yet we're doing it under the veil of C3. Why do we need C3 for these office-type uses? And then my next question would be on signage. There's some verbiage back here, talks about if there's an electronic sign. This is a small lot. It's less than a half an acre. It's a very specific SPUD, Can't you tell us that you either want or don't want an electronic sign?
We do not need electronic signs. This is for an insurance office, and the entire purpose, Commissioner, is that in the original PUD, it called in paragraph 9 for a landscaping of 25 feet minimum. We feel that that was primarily to apply to the right-of-way on Portland Avenue and on the east-west arterial, but the way it's written, it applies to all the streets within the project. And so our aim is to reduce that landscaping width requirement. That requirement would now allow us to make use of the property. So any of the other provisions of the original PUD that create a problem, we did not address, creating a problem for you. As far as what we're wanting to do is, my client wants to build an insurance office there and wants to reduce that 25-foot landscaping on that
That's
street.
just 25 square feet, isn't it? It's not 25 linear feet.
My whole concern here is, it looks like we're trying to carve a very small section out of a PUD and put it in an SPUD. And if we're doing an SPUD anyway, I don't know why we can't craft that spud to do what we need,
right,
rather than leave it. I'm guessing that you've used the nuts and bolts of PUD 737, and you're just now adding these three uses for this very small section, and then taking out what you didn't like. But there's a whole lot of that PUD that doesn't apply to this, and I'm wondering if you can't clean it up and bring it back as a spud with the underlying office zoning, rather than the C3.
I have no problem with that.
Also,
Can we just amend on the floor to change the underlying zoning to your office zoning?
You have a very specific, and we don't have it in front of us, we just have the staff report, but you have a very specific SPUD document that, I don't know what that says, I don't know what amendments would be required in that document to do that.
In your motion, you could amend to use the O2 as the base, and we can just amend his document to do that.
Don't have a problem there.
That's fine.
Sure.
with respect to the language about this electronic message,
But they don't need it, so we can delete that.
what I was going to say is I think that's just become sort of the standard boilerplate that we include in our staff reports about all signs, whether they've indicated that they're going to be or not going to be.
Well, no, I understand, but when you have a very small, very specific SPUD, I think you ought to be able to address one way or the other what that's going to be, rather than just leave it hanging.
I think the issue in part is that LED or electronic boards are permitted by right in just a range of zoning districts. So what the staff is doing is suggesting that if you intend to use one, they're describing limits on its use.
That language comes from the Planning Commission's adopted policy for PUDs.
But we've also received other applications where the applicant says no electronic signs will be permitted, and I think that that's what we want to see here. We're going to do the amendment.
Well, in this case, that's what we would want to see, because he just said that they don't want it or need it.
So did we clarify the issue about the 25 feet of landscaping, that it's not, we're not talking about linear, like a setback, we're just talking about 25 square feet, 5 by 5? Isn't that right?
The PUD as written requires a 25-foot green belt along all street frontages.
Okay, that's in the PUD, not the base zoning ordinance. Or
It's not the landscaping around the base of the sign.
Right. So we need a motion then to amend the underlying zoning to O2 and strike the second paragraph of TE1, is that right?
Well, not strike it.
Replace it with?
Replace it with a affirmative statement that no electronic signs will be utilized in the SPUD.
Okay. Any other discussion, Commissioners? Want to make that a motion, Nick?
I certainly will. I'll move approval changing the underlying zoning to O2 and modifying it to TE1 to indicate that there will be no electronic signage used in the SPUD.
I agree to those amendments.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 6 as conditioned. Cast your votes. And that's approved.
Item 7 is SPUD 562, an application by Commercial Permits Express to rezone 3701 South Pennsylvania from SPUD 476 to SPUD 562.
Dean.
Dean Dyes with Commercial Permits Express. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We were here approximately a year ago and had this property zoned as a car lot, and we're wanting to keep that use, but we've had the opportunity to lease that property on a long-term lease, and so we need to add something to it, and that's the purpose why I'm here today. The company that has leased it is a company that does labor force. In fact, the name of the company is Able Body Labor Force. They're out of Florida. And so we turned this around to do a C3 community commercial so we would be allowed to use it for that purpose. In the report here, under the staff technical evaluations, the very last one, paragraph 3, or TE number 3, says that we would have no pole signs. We already have a pole sign approved there for the use of the car lot. I worked with Mr. Bright on that about a year ago. We cut the size of it down considerably. It's only 12-foot maximum height. But we never did put it in because this company came along and wanted to lease it. But we want to keep that. We don't want to lose that. Other than that, everything else is fine.
Now, I understand Commissioner Gales talked to you about some of the uses that you probably don't need that you might be willing to take out. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you, Commissioner Gales, tell me what those are?
Well, our discussion was a general one. I was talking with Dean trying to understand this application. There were a couple of things in it I didn't understand, and he said, well, all we want to do is allow for this single use for this workforce. And I said, well, then why do you need all the other horticulture and all the other 18 or 20 uses on the top of page 2 of our staff report? And he said, we don't. We just need the one single use. And so my recommendation would be to go with the one use that was needed, leave the car lot use in. I'm not trying to take that away, but not put in a bunch of things they don't need.
Do not have a problem with that.
Okay. So which use unit?
I guess it would come under what? I don't know, retail sales. Judge it?
Let's keep administrative and professional office and business support services.
So it's 8300.1 and 8300.24. Those would be the use units that we leave in?
Yes, sir.
And delete the rest?
So we're deleting the auto lot?
No, we're leaving that.
Leaving that.
And just adding these two use units.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And we leave the sign alone.
Well, I've got a question.
Well, if you agreed to it a year ago,
but you said it's a pole sign, and I don't recall
I was
agreeing to a pole sign.
It's got two poles, all covered. Doesn't look
it's
like
not,
poles.
Well, I mean, now we're talking about some covering of the pole.
Yes, sir.
That's what my recollection was.
Right.
And reluctantly, I did agree to the 12-footer.
Right. Maximum height, 12 foot to the top.
With
Now, we'll say
masonry or whatever you're doing covering that,
Yes,
those
sir.
poles.
However, if you'd like to use an 8-foot monument sign, you may.
Yes.
If I could talk him into it, I'd be glad to do it. I'd rather personally have the monument sign, but there's just some of these guys that, this particular guy has many of these places, and he has pole signs on all of them. So it's pretty hard to change his mind. But if you remember right, we came to your office.
No. I'm really sorry I remember, but I do remember. But if you come in with another one and you haven't built that thing, I'll give you two, but not the third one. So you might just go ahead and put that 12-footer up with the covering on the poles, because it may be that the next guy that comes in is going to get an 8-foot monument sign. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, no one has signed up, and we need a motion that allows for the two use units that Dean wants and deleting TE3.
I move approval of the application as modified, as you just explained it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion then to approve item 7 as conditioned. Cast your votes. And nothing happened. Electronics and technology has failed us. Okay, in the interest of time, all in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, same sign. You're approved. Thank you. I guess we're going to function without technology.
Item 8 is SPUD 563, an application by Brian Fitzsimmons of Fitzsimmons Architects to rezone 1210, 1214, 1220, and 1224 Northwest 18th from R3 medium density with the Gatewood Urban Conservation District to SPUD 563.
Brian Fitzsimmons, Fitzsimmons Architects at 2721 North Walker. I agree with the staff comments, although I would like to correct one minor piece. And this was pointed out by Janet Seafeld of Gatewood. The comment about the building on the west end, that should say the east end.
I thought that when I looked at the diagram. I kept turning the paper upside down to make the staff report work. Any questions of Mr. Fitzsimmons? No one has signed up in opposition. No protest?
I'd like to just make a comment about this application on one aspect of it. I've met with Mr. Fitzsimmons, and I'm very familiar with the area, as are you, Mr. Chairman, because that's somewhat of a neighborhood area, same with Janice. It's an extraordinarily vast improvement over what's there now, which is a burned-out building. But the comment that I'd like to make most about this application is the use of the permeable paving that is going to be proposed for the parking areas. I recall some time ago making that comment to developers that were doing shopping centers or parking lots, etc. And I think that you're the only applicant that I can remember.
Humphreys. The Humphreys on Walker. Humphreys Company, they did something similar.
But very, very, very few are looking into this particular kind of paving, and I really do appreciate the effort that you're going to make to this, and would encourage other developers to really investigate that kind of paving. It's environmentally much better. I mean, waters rather than waters running off. But I thank you for adding that into this particular project.
Thank you, and I hope that the city is looking into that for long-term permanent zoning.
So do we, because I had a similar comment with staff earlier today. I like the idea of using that rather than creating more runoff. And
I actually wanted to ask you, was it a difficult sell? Was it difficult to get this?
Actually, with the city staff, it was not a difficult sell, other than making sure that they understood exactly what we were talking about. With the owner and client, it was actually their idea. So
that's good. I mean, particularly, I was interested with the staff that it was not a difficult sell for them. That's good.
Any other discussion, Commissioners? Action?
I move approval of the application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8. Cast your vote. You can't cast your votes. Aye. Approved. Aye. Opposed, same sign. You're approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9 has been continued to June the 24th. Item 10 is C-6217, final plat of Shiley Village Phase 2 in Ward 3.
Lindsay McCabe with Craft and Tull Sparks representing the applicant.
Okay.
This is the final phase of this development, which is in line with the previously approved preliminary plat. And we are in agreement with this staff report. After meeting with staff, we would like to delete TE4 and TE6.
Staff's in agreement with you on that, so that's not a problem. Commissioners, any discussion?
Just one question. The staff report indicates that it was continued to address staff concerns, and then it says, some of which had been addressed. I'm assuming the others are addressed in TEs that have been agreed to?
Yes.
So, very good.
Anyone else? Action? No one signed up.
Move approval.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval. Signify approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're approved. Thank you.
Item 11 has been continued to June the 24th. Item 12 is C-6222, a final plat of Featherstone Addition, Section 4, in Ward 5.
Good afternoon. Chris Anderson with SMC Engineering representing the developers. We have read the staff report and agree with the TEs. I would point out that on TE number 3, in this instance, the developer has decided to eliminate that 6-foot strip common area from the final plat. And on TE number 7, that particular common area is actually on top of a large easement that the city owns. There's a city water main that runs through there. And so as far as amenities in that area, it's just some landscaping and the sidewalk along the right-of-way.
Commissioners, you have in front of you a letter of protest from Bobby Wilson. If you want
Is
to take
that
a
from
minute.
Section 4 or Section 5, Commissioner?
I'm sorry?
I thought the letter of protest was on Section 5.
Well, it was just put here in front of us, and I don't think anyone's had a chance to read it, Chris. So
Okay.
give us.
Section 5.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, it is Section 5.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, it'll be with respect to item 13, not item 12, which is the next item. So again, on item 12, no protest. Item 13 has a letter of protest. So no one signed up on item 12. Any discussion or comments?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Indicate approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 12 is approved. Now we'll read the letter, Chris.
Thank you.
So it is item 13 we're considering now, C-6223, which is the final plat of Featherstone Addition, Section 5.
Again, Chris Anderson, SMC Engineering, representing the developer. There are 3 TEs on this application. We agree with those and request approval of the plat.
Okay. Give us a couple of minutes to get through the letter.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Chris, can you address the concerns that are set out in Ms. Wilson's letter?
Well, most of those, I think we've gone through and decided those are pretty much non-issues. Obviously, the city's not going to let us construct lots in a floodplain. The gas company's not going to let us build lots over their gas line or restrict access to their gas line. And as far as about empty lots in the subdivision, I don't think there's anything in our code that restricts what you can build based upon empty lots. So.
There are obviously some things we can't do a thing about in the letter. Redirecting careers would be one of them. Is there an easement issue, Chris?
No, sir.
Okay.
Are any other people signed up?
No.
This is the only?
This is the only protest. No.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move approval of this application. It appears to be consistent with the preliminary. The items enumerated in this letter of protest as you pointed out, really don't seem to be things that are within our purview. So I would move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 13. For approval, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're approved, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 14 is SP 421, application by MI number 1 LLC for a special permit to operate mining and processing minerals and raw materials used in PUD 1372 at 6224 Southwest 8th Street.
Again, Chris Anderson, SMC Engineering, standing in for the applicant who asked me right before the meeting to come and stand in for him. I did get a copy of the staff report, went through it with the applicant. He does agree with all of the TEs, and so we just ask approval of the application.
And no one has signed up, Commissioners?
Move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 14. Signify approval with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're approved.
Thank you very much.
Item 15 is CE 784, an application by Cinnabar Investment LLC to close the north half of Southwest 134th Street in the area of South Council Road in Ward 3.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, David Vaux on behalf of the applicant, 522 Colcord Drive. Our application today is seeking to close the right-of-way along portions of Southwest 134th Street on either side of Council. On the west side of Council Road, the right-of-way is blocked by the South Canadian River, and on the east side of Council, the unimproved right-of-way starts where the improved right-of-way starts, and the entirety of the property to be closed is owned by the applicant. The dashed line is where the applicant owns property, and we are seeking to close from this line to there. Council Road between 119th and 134th was closed by ordinance in 1998, and there's a gate, as noted on the map, so access to 134th coming south has already been closed. This application will unify under one ownership all of the area in question. I'm here to answer any questions.
Commissioners? No one signed up?
Move approval of the application.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item 15. Signify approval with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're approved. Thank you, David.
Item 16 is CE 785, an application by Producers Cooperative Oil Mill to close all of South Central Avenue between Southeast 4th and 6th Streets and close Southeast 6th Street, extending east from South Walnut Avenue, Ward 7.
Members of the Commission, Clint Whitworth, Edmonds Cole Law Firm, representing the applicant, 7 South Mickey Mantle Drive. Just here to answer any questions or provide any clarification.
No one signed up. Commissioners, questions?
Move approval of the application.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 16. Signify approval with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, not quite a record. Planning Commission committees? Planning Commission members?
I have a comment, and it's on class and curve, since this is almost a record of our meeting time. The popularity of the Restaurant Republic, have you been there? And the parking lot is full on that end. There's a pizza place that's going to be over on the other side. And I just think for purposes of, and then impending is Whole Foods that's going to be catty-cornered across from that. Two issues. One is we've talked about the intersection of Grand and Western and that convoluted thing there. Has traffic looked into what I predict is going to be a potentially major traffic issue with the popularity of Class and Curve, Whole Foods, and all of Chesapeake's buildings that are up there? That is potentially going to be a nightmare. And we, as planning commissioners, have said yes, even though we've had kind of like no plans for Chesapeake, except this is my master plan, but it might not be. That now we know that a Whole Foods store is going to be there that is going to attract a great deal of traffic from all over the place. I just predict that that's going to happen. And then Class and Curve, it only has, 3 businesses now or 4 in that entire thing. So we approve another popular bar, restaurant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just think that whatever this city does, it really needs to kind of have its eyes open and look at the lack of parking, look at pedestrian access from one point to another, Whole Foods back and forth, that's going to be perhaps another Penn Memorial on a lesser scale. And that's my comment, but I really would implore the city to kind of work with these people that are putting this stuff together, even though we did make a requirement, for a traffic study, because we weren't told Whole Foods was going to go into that location. And then the popularity of these businesses that are going into that Class and Curve, it really does have the potential of being a really jammed up place that's not going to make very many people very happy.
Well, let's hear from Janice and Russell. I think Janice and Sam have met with them. Is that not correct?
We did. We met with them 2 weeks ago. And I don't think that there was anything at that meeting that I was sworn to secrecy about. There are some fairly significant plans afoot by Chesapeake for the whole area. They have come to terms with some of the property owners on their east side of their campus. It's going to sort of engineer their whole traffic flow on the campus side of Western, and how the in and out and traffic lights and boulevards and how you get from one place to another. That part of it will be coming to us fairly soon, I sure hope. I have to say that the one issue that continues to concern me about the development is traffic. I think what they're doing out there is fabulous. It's a shame Tim is not still here with us, because he is, working on that with them. There are plans, of course, to widen Grand up to 63rd. They have acquired the building. They now own the entire large triangle, the school building that's there on the corner of 63rd and Western. They've acquired. You may have noticed they tore down the buildings that were on the north side of 63rd between Western and Grand. And so, as they are wont to do, they're moving pretty quickly, but they have gone farther than we have seen previously in their planning efforts with respect to how they're going to get traffic in and out, whether it's really, really going to be sufficient in the long run when push comes to shove. I have my own questions and concerns.
You have to.
I continue to raise them at every meeting we have. Because, I drive up and down Western all the time and up and down Grand all the time, and I know how congested it is now. And when there is an issue of any kind on the campus, they're doing sidewalk work or they're working on a building, and one of those lanes along Western has to be closed off even partially, it's just a nightmare. So, I'm talking to them as much as I can about that. I do think they have it in mind. They don't always want to show all their cards, how they are about that. There also is some current discussion underway with respect to the parking at the curve itself. It clearly is not going to be adequate.
No. Not when they start filling those places up.
Yeah, one business is taking up half of the parking right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And there are other restaurants that are already announced and planned.
But Janice, the Tim, and it's been at least a year ago, or perhaps 2, when he talked about that Western class. We have plans. We're going to do this. Talk, and now you've got a building being built, Whole Foods is coming in, and there's not one sign of anything happening. First, that's the first observation. Second one, are they paying for it, or is the city?
Well, I am not privy to all those discussions. I have not, for a long time there was some discussion about the creation of a traffic circle at that very strange intersection of Western and Grand. And it was ultimately determined, and I think probably with the advent of the Whole Foods,
it wouldn't.
That's just never going to work, No. So I think maybe we're back to the drawing board with respect to how we're going to deal with that. But honestly, I have not been involved in all that discussion. I literally wandered into the wrong meeting and sat in on a little bit of discussion about the widening of Grand Boulevard.
At least there's discussion.
And the city's very present at those discussions, and Dennis Clowers was there.
But this is kind of my question for
how it's going to get paid for, I do not know.
Can the city put? You've got. It's like a fuse that has been lit, and that fuse is getting shorter and shorter, and there's not a impetus on the part of the city or whomever, because this is the part of the responsibility of the city to control traffic and to make sure it works, is that a push. I don't care what secrets they want to keep. Just don't keep secrets anymore, because there's a sign, Whole Foods coming soon, and Class and Curve is being filled with popular restaurants, and it's a go-to place. And so there's an issue here that somebody's got to get their arms around it and make something happen.
Well, let's hear from Russell, and then maybe we go to Chesapeake. Go ahead, Russell.
I was part of an earlier discussion, like almost 12 months ago, I think, so I have not been party to recent communications, but Chesapeake were aware that they would have traffic issues and approached the city for assistance in resolving those, and that was primarily on Western, and that also you've got a choke point down there at the highway. So all of that section between basically, I think, or maybe at least 63rd, if not Grand, down to the highway is going to be addressed. Yeah. And that will address some of those concerns. Now, as you've stated, we don't know the full plans. We don't know what else may go in there. But within the scope of what they believe to be their traffic concerns, they believe that will address it.
I do know that
and those conversations are still ongoing, and I think that design is underway as far as I know.
Russell, let me ask you, since we're at that point, some time ago we had some discussion concerning restructuring or redesigning that intersection at Grand and Western. Is there any more activity?
Well, that was part of that discussion that Janice just brought up about the traffic circle. The traffic circle was determined not to work, and they are redesigning it in another way with traffic lights to accomplish desired purpose. And I'm not the traffic engineer, so I have no idea, but those conversations are going on. They're looking at traffic volumes and capacity, and hopefully they have the room there to be able to accommodate the solution.
They're going to have to move some of their dirt to accommodate
it
that.
It may actually require the relocation of the bank. I know that there are a lot of different things about how that's going to work that are being looked at. I will tell you that we will have the opportunity to discuss this with the representatives of Chesapeake soon, because they are going to have to come in, or they're going to come in and vacate much, if not all, of the underlying plat structure for the East Campus. They're tired of paying their tax bills one lot at a time over there, and so they're wanting to, vacate that, restructure it, the alleys, the lots, the streets, and so on. And also, I think we will see something relatively soon on the Class and Curve piece of it. I will tell you that they were sort of stood on their head, I think, by FEMA, of all things, over the restructuring of the concrete water channel that goes over. I think beat their head against that brick wall as long as they could stand to and have finally thrown in the towel. FEMA has decided that that has been there so long that it is the historical water course. They don't want them to beautify it by ripping out the concrete and putting in rock and terracing it the way they have over on the campus side. And I don't know whether the city can be of any assistance to them in that or whether they don't care anymore. I mean, it was very apparent that they had done, all that they could stand to do with FEMA on that, including, fly them in and show them the thing. And but some piece of how they're going to structure the parking and the buildings over in the big triangle, as I call it, will also come before us fairly soon, I think.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to need it for the Whole Foods, for the parking and all that. So.
Okay. Planning Department, Russell?
We have a study session planned for July the 8th. Mark Cranenberg would like to talk to us about the Airport Strategic Development Program. And we also want to talk to you about the purpose and intents of planned unit developments as well. And we have a UDC on that date as well, which will discuss some ordinance changes to the Historic Preservation Ordinance.
Okay. Development Services, JJ? Municipal Counselor? I assume you four are related. That's just a guess. Yeah. Are there merit badges in order for listening to the Planning Commission today, or are you just interested? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We knew there was a hook.
Well,
thanks for showing up.
Well, you're fortunate this is one of our shorter meetings, so you didn't have to sit through one of the 3 or 4 hour ones, so to get the badge. But we're happy that you were here. Motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor? Aye. Done. Thank you all.